Hello, friends. Did you know that about 80% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed? If you like the content, I'd be very happy if you clicked the subscribe button. Thank you all for being here. By the way, where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. The call came in at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday in late September. I was finishing paperwork when my phone lit up. Oak Point Park Ranger Station, this is Jason Miller. My daughter didn't come home. The woman's voice was tight with panic. She went for a walk at your park around 7 p.m. It's been almost 5 hours. I grabbed my pen. What's your daughter's name? Emily. Emily Carter. She's 26. She knows the park closes at dusk. What was she wearing? Blue jacket, black leggings, white running shoes. Her phone's going straight to voicemail. Oak Point Park and Nature Preserve covered nearly 800 acres along Rolett Creek. During the day, peaceful. At night, isolated and dark. Which parking lot does she use? The one off Chaparral Road, near the playground. Stay by your phone. If Emily contacts you, call me immediately. I gave her my number. I'm going to find your daughter. The park's security system showed no alerts, no motion sensors triggered, no unusual activity. But that didn't mean nothing was wrong. I grabbed my gear and headed for my truck. 12 minutes later, I reached the Chaparral entrance. The parking lot was empty except for one car, a silver Honda Civic. Emily's car. The September night was warm and humid. Crickets sang from the tall grass. In the distance, Rowlett Creek rushed through the preserve. I shined my light through Emily's car windows. Gym bag in back. Water bottle in the cup holder. Her purse was gone, taken with her. I keyed my radio. Ranger Miller at Chaparral entrance, vehicle located, beginning trail search. Copy, need backup? Negative. 30 minutes, then I'll call. I clicked on my flashlight and started down the paved trail, calling out every few minutes. Emily Carter, Park Ranger Miller. No response, just crickets and rustling leaves. After a quarter mile, the trail split. I checked the creek overlook first. Empty. The creek burbled peacefully below. Nothing seemed wrong, but my instincts disagreed. I took the right path deeper into the preserve. The paved trail transitioned to packed dirt after half a mile. Emily, can you hear me? Still nothing. I was about to request backup when I noticed a gap in the vegetation. Fresh broken branches, disturbed leaves. I aimed my flashlight into the gap and saw it. A footprint. Running shoe tread, women's size, heading into the brush. The broken branches looked fresh, very fresh. I followed. The vegetation was dense here, typical North Texas scrubland. A tangle of mesquite, yaupon, and thick prairie grass. Not impenetrable, but definitely not somewhere you'd go voluntarily unless you were following something or running from something. I pushed through carefully, using my flashlight to track the disturbed plants. The trail, if you could call it that, led roughly northeast, away from the main paths and toward the preserve's more isolated interior. After 50 yards, I found another footprint, then another. Someone had definitely come this way, and recently. Emily, if you're out here, make noise. Let me know where you are. The forest remained silent, except for my own breathing and the crunch of vegetation under my boots. I kept going, marking my position on my GPS as I moved deeper into the preserve. The trees grew denser here, blocking what little moonlight filtered through the clouds. My flashlight beam cut through the darkness, illuminating patches of ground, tree trunks, tangled brush. And then I saw it. A structure. Man-made. Hidden back in the trees about 20 yards from my position. I stopped, my hand instinctively going to the radio on my belt. Every ranger instinct I had was screaming at me to call for backup right now. But first, I needed to see what I was dealing with. I approached slowly, keeping my light steady. The structure was small, maybe 8 feet by 10, built from weathered plywood and 2x4s. An old maintenance shed, I thought at first. The Park Service had several scattered throughout the preserve, used for storing equipment, but this one wasn't on any map I'd ever seen. I circled around to the front. The door was a sheet of plywood on hinges, currently closed. No lock, just a simple wooden latch. "Emily, Park Ranger, if you're in there, I need you to answer me." Silence. I reached for the latch, then paused. Something felt wrong about this. Very wrong. I keyed my radio. "This is Miller. I've located an unmapped structure in the northeast section, approximately half a mile from Chaparral Trailhead, requesting backup before entering." "Copy that. Sending Ranger Thompson and Officer Alvarez. ETA 15 minutes. 15 minutes. In situations like this, 15 minutes could be an eternity." I stood there, flashlight aimed at the door, listening. No sound came from inside, no movement, no indication anyone was there. But Emily's footprints had led me here. Or at least, someone's had. Against my better judgment, I lifted the latch. The door swung open with a creak that seemed impossibly loud in the quiet forest. I aimed my flashlight inside, sweeping the beam across the interior. The shed was empty. No, not empty. Carefully arranged. There were blankets folded neatly in one corner. Bottled water, probably 24 bottles, stacked against the wall. Protein bars, trail mix, other non-perishable food. A small camping stove, a LED lantern, and on the wall opposite the door, a map, not a park map, a hand-drawn map, detailed and precise, showing the preserve's trail system, parking lots, and ranger station. But what made my blood run cold were the annotations. Written in neat handwriting across the map were notes about patrol schedules, security camera positions, and blind spots in our coverage. Someone had been living here, studying the park, learning its rhythms, learning how to stay invisible. I stepped inside, careful not to disturb anything. This was a crime scene now, or at least it needed to be treated as one. I took photos with my phone, documenting everything. That's when I noticed the corner behind the door. More blankets, arranged like a bed. And next to them, partially hidden under a camping tarp, something blue. I lifted the tarp. A blue jacket, women's size. My hands went cold. I keyed my radio immediately. "This is Miller. I've found evidence. We need police, search and rescue, and we need them now. This isn't just a lost hiker situation." The radio crackled. "Copy that. What did you find?" Before I could answer, I heard something outside, a sound that didn't belong to the forest. A footstep. Deliberate. Close. I spun around, my flashlight cutting through the doorway and illuminating the trees beyond. Nothing. Just darkness and vegetation. But I knew what I'd heard. Someone was out there. "Emily?" I called out, my voice echoing through the woods. "Emily Carter, if that's you, I'm here to help." "You're safe now." No response. I stepped out of the shed slowly, keeping my flashlight moving, scanning the tree line. My other hand went to my radio, ready to call for immediate assistance. That's when I saw it. Maybe 30 feet away, partially hidden behind an oak tree, a figure, standing perfectly still, watching me. "Park Ranger," I called out, trying to keep my voice steady and authoritative. "Step forward and identify yourself." The figure didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there in the darkness beyond my flashlight's full reach. My finger pressed the radio button. Miller to base, I have a subject on site. Northeast section. Requesting immediate. The figure moved. Not toward me. Not away. It shifted slightly to the left, and in that movement I caught a better angle with my flashlight. It was a man. Average height, maybe 35 or 40, wearing dark clothes that blended with the forest. His face was shadowed, but I could see his eyes, fixed on me, calculating. Sir, this area is closed to the public. I need you to identify yourself. He took a step back, melting into the shadows. Stop! Park ranger, I'm ordering you to stop. But he was already moving, crashing through the brush, heading deeper into the preserve, away from the trails, away from civilization. I had a choice to make. Chase him and potentially lose Emily if she was out here somewhere. Or secure the scene and wait for backup. The decision was made for me when I heard another sound. This one from my right, from a different direction than where the man had run. A whimper, quiet, frightened. Emily, help! The voice was barely audible. Please, help me! I ran toward the sound, crashing through brush, my flashlight beam bouncing wildly. Keep talking. I'm coming to you. He's out here. 20 yards, 30. I burst through a thick stand of yaupon and found her. Emily Carter was huddled against a tree, her arms wrapped around her knees, her face streaked with dirt and tears. She was shaking, her eyes wide with terror. Emily, I'm Ranger Miller. You're safe now. I'm here. She looked up at me, and I saw something in her expression that made my chest tight. This wasn't just fear of being lost. This was something deeper. He knows all the trails, she whispered. Every single one. He watches from the trees. He's always watching. Officer Ben Alvarez arrived 14 minutes later with Ranger Thompson close behind. By then, I'd moved Emily back to the main trail, keeping my flashlight pointed outward, scanning the forest for any sign of the man I'd seen. EMTs are 3 minutes out, Alvarez said as he approached, his hand resting on his duty weapon. What's the situation? The victim is Emily Carter, 26. She's shaken, but appears physically unharmed. There's a structure approximately 200 yards northeast of our position set up like someone's been living there. I encountered a male subject at the location who fled when confronted. Thompson, a younger ranger who'd been with the Park Service for 2 years, looked toward the dark forest. Living in the park for how long? Based on what I saw, weeks at minimum. Maybe longer. Emily grabbed my arm suddenly, her fingers digging in hard. He's listening. He can hear everything we say. I knelt down to her level. Emily, you're safe. There are 3 of us here, more coming. No one's going to hurt you. You don't understand. Her voice was shaking. He told me he watches everyone. All day, every day, he knows who comes to the park. He knows which trails they take. He knows when the rangers do their patrols. Alvarez exchanged a glance with me. Did he hurt you, Emily? Did he touch you? She shook her head. He just watched and talked. He kept talking about the park like it was his, like we were all guests in his space. The EMTs arrived, and we stepped back to let them work. While they checked Emily's vitals and wrapped her in a thermal blanket, I pulled Alvarez aside. We need to secure that structure tonight. Whatever's in there could be evidence. Agreed. But I want more backup before we go back in there. If this guy's been living in the park undetected for weeks, he knows this terrain better than any of us. He was right. I'd been a ranger at Oak Point for a decade, knew these trails intimately. But someone living here full-time, moving through the preserve daily without being detected, would have knowledge I couldn't match. "There's something else," I said quietly. The map on his wall, it had our patrol schedules marked. Camera positions, blind spots. He's been studying our security systematically. Alvarez's jaw tightened. "That's premeditation. This isn't just some homeless person camping in the woods." Over the next hour, more officers arrived. They cordoned off the area, set up lights, and began documenting the scene. I led a team back to the structure, this time with 4 officers and Thompson. The shed looked different with proper lighting, more deliberate, more disturbing. "Jesus," Thompson muttered, staring at the detailed map. "He's been tracking us." One of the officers, a detective named Sarah Martinez, who specialized in stalking cases, was photographing everything methodically. This level of observation takes time, patience. This isn't impulsive behavior. She pointed to a notebook I hadn't noticed before, tucked under the blankets. "Ranger Miller, can you take a look at this?" I pulled on gloves and carefully opened the notebook. My blood ran cold. Page after page of handwritten entries. Dates. Times, descriptions. September 3rd, 6:45 a.m. Hispanic female, early 40s, yellow shirt. Takes Eastern Trail. Alone. Returns 7:30 a.m. September 3rd, 11:20 a.m. White male, late 50s, walking dog. Stays on paved path. Wife joins him at Overlook. September 4th, 7:15 p.m. White female, mid-20s, blue jacket. Regular visitor. Always alone. Predictable route. That last entry was from 3 days ago. The description matched Emily perfectly. "He's been watching specific people," I said, my voice tight. "Documenting their patterns." Martinez read over my shoulder. "This is stalking behavior. Sophisticated stalking. He's not just camping here. He's using the park as a hunting ground." We spent the next 3 hours processing the scene. The structure contained enough supplies for weeks of living. The food was organized by expiration date. The water bottles were labeled. Everything had its place, arranged with meticulous care. This wasn't chaos. This was control. We also found a sleeping bag, rated for winter weather, suggesting he'd been here through different seasons. A small shovel, neatly cleaned. Extra clothes in a sealed plastic bin. And most disturbing, a set of binoculars, powerful enough to watch someone from hundreds of yards away. "Check this out," Thompson called from outside the structure. I stepped out to find him shining his light on a tree about 15 feet from the shed. Carved into the bark at chest height was a series of marks. Tally marks. 47 of them. "What do you think they represent?" Thompson asked. I didn't want to answer, didn't want to say what I was thinking, but Martinez did it for me. Days. Or people. Possibly both. Dawn was breaking by the time we finished the initial investigation. Emily had been taken to the hospital for observation. Her mother met her there. And according to Alvarez, Emily still wasn't talking much. Just kept repeating that he was still out there. Still watching. I drove back to the ranger station as the sun rose over the preserve, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The park was beautiful in the morning light. Peaceful, but I couldn't see it that way anymore. Frank Nichols was waiting at the office. He'd been pulled from bed and looked exhausted. "Walk me through it," he said. I told him everything. The shed, the map, the notebook, the man I'd seen. Frank's face grew grim. How long has he been out there? At least 2 months, maybe since spring based on the winter gear. And we never detected him. He stood and walked to the window. We're closing the park, temporarily, and we're doing a full sweep, every acre, starting today. The search began at 8 a.m. 12 Rangers, 20 Plano PD officers, K-9 units from Dallas. We gridded the preserve and worked south to north. At 10:30 a.m., a K-9 alerted near the creek bed, half a mile from the shed. We found the second camp, primitive, just a tarp between trees and a fire pit. Beside it, binoculars, water bottle, and a cell phone. He was here this morning, I said, smelling faint smoke, after we found the shed. Backup site, an officer suggested. Smart. He's adapting, I said, moving ahead of us. The search continued through evening. By 6 p.m., we'd covered the entire preserve. No sign of him. Frank briefed us back at the station. Park stays closed indefinitely. No public access until this threat is eliminated. Emily? I asked. Martinez shook her head. Traumatized. Says he told her he's been living here almost a year. And she says he showed her other places. She thinks 5 or 6 camps he rotates through. Multiple camps meant he could stay indefinitely, always ahead of searches. Thermal imaging, Alvarez suggested. Helicopter with FLIR. Frank nodded. I'll request it, but that takes time. I went home that night but couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that figure in the darkness watching me, patient, calculated, waiting. At 2:30 a.m., my phone rang. The security company that monitored Oak Point's cameras. Ranger Miller were showing activity at the chaparral entrance. Motion sensors triggered, but when the cameras panned to the location, there's nothing there. My pulse quickened. Which cameras? All of them along the main trail. Like someone's moving through the system, triggering each sensor in sequence, but staying just out of frame. He was playing with us, letting us know he was still there, still in control. I called Alvarez. He's at Chaparral entrance, moving through the trail system. I'm heading there now. Don't approach alone. But I was already in my truck, driving toward the park. The parking lot was empty when I arrived, lit by a single streetlight. I parked and stepped out, my hand on my flashlight. The motion sensor at the trailhead blinked red, indicating recent activity. I keyed my radio. Miller at Chaparral entrance, sensors confirm recent passage. Miller, wait for backup, ETA 7 minutes. 7 minutes. I stood at the trail entrance, looking into the dark preserve. That's when I saw it. On the information board next to the trailhead, someone had left something. A piece of paper folded and tucked under the corner. I photographed it, then pulled it free. A page torn from the notebook we'd found. The handwriting was neat, controlled. Rangers find what I let them find. I know every inch of these woods, every trail, every blind spot, every camera. You're guests here. I live here. This is my park now. Below was a list. 5 names, 5 women who regularly visited Oak Point Park. Emily's name was first. Sarah Mendez, power walker, mornings before work. Jessica Price, retiree with a golden retriever 3 afternoons a week. Katie Morrison, college student who studied on benches near the creek. Amanda Torres, a name I'd seen but couldn't place. They were all targets. Alvarez arrived with 2 units as I was photographing the note. The message changed everything. We need to contact these women immediately, Martinez said, reading the list. Protective awareness. Over 2 hours, we converted the ranger station into an operation center. Maps covered every wall. We marked both camps, plotting routes. Martinez returned at 5 a.m. 3 women cooperating, staying away. But Amanda Torres moved to Austin 3 months ago, hasn't been here since June. Then why is she on the list? Alvarez asked. Either he doesn't know she moved, I said, or this list is months old. He's been targeting them for a long time. The thermal imaging helicopter arrived at dawn. For 3 hours it crisscrossed the preserve using FLIR cameras. Found deer, coyotes, 1 homeless person near the southern boundary, but no suspect. Could be in shelter, the pilot reported, underground or under thick cover. FLIR can't penetrate heavy vegetation if someone's staying still. That afternoon we found the 3rd camp. This one was different. Positioned along the tree line of the eastern parking lot with clear view of arrivals and departures. 50 yards from where families unloaded strollers. He'd been watching them all. Calculated, Martinez said. Different camps for different purposes, creek for water, northeast for isolation, this for observation. We found more notebooks, entries from April, from March, and photographs. Taken with telephoto lens? Women hiking alone? Close-ups of faces. Emily was in 3 of them. Enough for arrest warrants, Alvarez said. Stalking, criminal trespass, harassment. We just need to find him. We searched 3 more days, brought in cadaver dogs, acoustic sensors. Found 2 more camps, 5 total. Exactly as Emily had said. Each revealed his pattern. He rotated systematically, moved at night, used the creek to mask movement, stayed in areas with no cameras. On the 4th day, Frank reopened the park with conditions. Can't keep it closed indefinitely. Cities pushing back. Increased patrols, visible police presence, mandatory buddy system. No one hikes alone. I wanted to argue, but understood. We'd found no sign for 72 hours. Maybe he'd run. I didn't believe it. The park reopened Monday. Rangers at every entrance, flyers warning visitors, police units patrolling. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. But I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every patrol, I felt eyes on me, tracking my movements. 3 weeks after reopening, Sarah Mendez called. I drove home that night, but I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that figure standing in the darkness, watching me. Patient, calculated. At 2:30 a.m., my phone rang. It was the security company that monitored Oak Point's camera system. Ranger Miller were showing activity at the chaparral entrance, motion sensors triggered, but when the cameras panned to the location, there's nothing there. My pulse quickened. Which cameras? All of them along the main trail, like someone's moving through the system, triggering each sensor in sequence but staying just out of frame. He was playing with us, letting us know he was still there, still in control. I called Alvarez, who was still at the station. He's at Chaparral entrance, moving through the trail system. I'm heading there now. Don't approach alone. But I was already in my truck, driving toward the park. The parking lot was empty when I arrived, lit by a single streetlight that cast long shadows across the asphalt. I parked and stepped out, my hand on my flashlight. The motion sensor at the trailhead blinked red as I approached, indicating recent activity. I keyed my radio. Miller at Chaparral entrance. Sensors confirm recent passage, beginning trail sweep. Miller, wait for backup. Alvarez's voice crackled through. ETA 7 minutes. 7 minutes. I stood at the trail entrance looking into the dark preserve beyond, and that's when I saw it. On the information board next to the trailhead, someone had left something, a piece of paper, folded and tucked under the corner of the board. I approached carefully, photographed it in place, then pulled it free. It was a page torn from the notebook we'd found in the shed. The handwriting was neat, controlled. Rangers find what I let them find. I know every inch of these woods, every trail, every blind spot, every camera. You're guests here. I live here. This is my park now. Below the message was a list. 5 names. 5 women who regularly visited Oak Point Park. Emily's name was the first on the list. The other 4 were women I'd seen on the trails dozens of times. Regular visitors. Predictable patterns. Sarah Mendez, a middle school teacher who power walked the trails every morning before work. Jessica Price, a retiree who brought her golden retriever to the park 3 afternoons a week. Katie Morrison, a college student who liked to study on the benches near the creek overlook. Amanda Torres, a name I'd seen in our visitor logs but couldn't place a face to. They were all targets. Alvarez arrived with 2 units from Plano PD just as I was photographing the note. The message had changed everything, elevated this from stalking to a credible threat against multiple victims. "We need to contact these women immediately," Martinez said, reading the list. "Get them into protective awareness, at minimum." Over the next 2 hours, we converted the ranger station into an operations center. Maps of the preserve covered every wall. We marked the locations of both camps we'd found, plotting possible routes between them. Martinez returned at 5 a.m. with updates. "We've contacted all 4 women. Sarah Mendez and Jessica Price are cooperating, staying away from the park. Katie Morrison is scared but understanding. Amanda Torres," she paused. "Amanda Torres moved to Austin 3 months ago. She hasn't been to this park since June." "Then why is she on the list?" Alvarez asked. "That's what worries me," I said, studying the note again. "He wrote this recently, probably tonight, but one of the names is outdated, which means either he doesn't know she moved or this list is from months ago. He's been targeting these women for a long time." The thermal imaging helicopter arrived at dawn. For 3 hours it crisscrossed the preserve using FLIR cameras to detect heat signatures. They found deer, coyotes, and 1 homeless person sleeping near the southern boundary who turned out to be completely unrelated to our case, but no sign of our suspect. "He could be in a shelter," the pilot reported, "underground or under thick cover. FLIR can't penetrate heavy vegetation if someone's staying still." That afternoon, we found the 3rd camp. This one was different. It wasn't hidden deep in the preserve, but was positioned along the tree line of the eastern parking lot, with a clear view of anyone arriving or departing. The spot was barely 50 yards from where families, unloaded strollers, and children ran toward the playground. He'd been watching them from here, watching everyone. "This is calculated," Martinez said, photographing the position. "He has camps for different purposes, the one near the creek for water access, the one in the northeast for isolation, and this one for observation." We found more notebooks at this site, more pages of neat handwriting documenting visitors. But these entries went back farther. Some were dated from April, others from March. And at the back of one notebook, we found photographs. Not many, maybe a dozen, taken with a telephoto lens. Pictures of women hiking alone, close-ups of faces, photos taken from hiding spots in the trees. Emily was in 3 of them. "This is enough for arrest warrants," Alvarez said. "Stalking, criminal trespass, harassment. We just need to find him." But finding him was proving impossible. We searched for 3 more days, brought in additional resources, cadaver dogs, in case there were victims we didn't know about, acoustic sensors to detect movement in the dense vegetation. We found 2 more camps, bringing the total to 5, exactly as Emily had said. Each camp revealed more of his pattern. He rotated between them systematically, never staying in one place long enough to establish a permanent routine. He moved at night, used the creek to mask his movements, and stayed in areas with no camera coverage. On the fourth day, Frank made the decision to reopen the park with conditions. "We can't keep it closed indefinitely," he said during the morning briefing. "The city is pushing back. We'll reopen with increased patrols, visible police presence, and mandatory buddy system requirements. No one hikes alone." I wanted to argue, wanted to say it wasn't safe, but I understood the reality. We'd found no sign of him for 72 hours. No triggered sensors, no fresh camps, nothing to suggest he was still in the park. Maybe he'd run, maybe the police presence had scared him off. I didn't believe it. But I had no evidence to support my instinct. The park reopened on Monday morning. We stationed rangers at every entrance, handed out flyers, warning visitors to stay in groups and report suspicious activity. Police units patrolled the parking lots. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. Visitors came and went. Families returned to the trails. Life at Oak Point went back to normal. But I couldn't shake the feeling we were being watched. Every patrol I did, every walk through the preserve, I felt eyes on me, tracking my movements, studying my patterns. I'd become what Emily and the others had been. A target being observed by someone who knew these woods better than anyone should. 3 weeks after reopening, Sarah Mendez called the station. "Someone's been in my house," she said, shaking. "Things are moved. And a photo's missing from my refrigerator, one of me at Oak Point." Martinez went immediately. No forced entry, no evidence. But Sarah was certain. Officers found footprints beneath her window. Someone had been watching her sleep. And in the flower bed, partially buried, a small notebook. Recent entries from the past week, detailing exactly where he'd been hiding. The storm drain system. Plano's storm drains connected throughout the city, including access points within Oak Point. The tunnels provided cover, water, unlimited movement. That's how he'd been everywhere and nowhere. We got city utilities maps. The network stretched for miles. "Can't search all this," Alvarez said. "We don't need to," I said. "Just his primary location." I studied the map. "Here, junction point under Oak Point parking lot. Connects 3 drain lines. Maintenance chamber large enough to stand in." But before we could organize a team, my phone rang. The security company. "Ranger Miller, movement at Oak Point. Multiple cameras showing activity, and this time we're seeing a subject." My stomach dropped. "Show me." They sent footage. There he was, walking down the main trail like he owned it. No hiding. Straight toward the ranger station. I was at the station, working late. I pulled up the live feed and watched as he stopped 50 feet away. He looked directly at the camera, at me, then held up a sign. "You can't stop someone who belongs here. The park chose me. I'll never leave." I called it in. Police units arrived within minutes, but he was gone. We found his escape route, a gap in coverage at the creek bed. But he'd made a mistake. He'd dropped a backpack. Inside, supplies and a phone. His phone. Our tech team broke the encryption. Months of surveillance photos, detailed logs, and a file labeled "Final Phase." Plans. Not detailed, but enough. He was preparing something bigger. The file mentioned the upcoming weekend, the park's annual fall festival. Hundreds of visitors, families, children. Whatever he was planning, he intended it for when the park was most crowded. We had 48 hours to stop him. Frank made the decision immediately. "We cancel the festival, no exceptions. We're not giving him a target-rich environment." The city pushed back hard. The festival was a major community event, already advertised widely, with vendors contracted and families planning to attend. Canceling would cause public outrage. But Franks stood firm. I'm not risking civilian lives because some people want a pumpkin patch and face painting. The festival is canceled. We used the extra time to saturate the park with personnel. 50 officers, 20 rangers, K-9 units, helicopter support. We created a perimeter around the entire preserve and began a systematic sweep from south to north. This time we found him. The K-9 unit picked up his scent near the northeast section, not far from where we'd found his first camp. We followed the trail slowly, carefully, knowing he was aware we were coming. The dog led us to a drainage culvert near the creek, a concrete pipe maybe 3 feet in diameter, hidden by vegetation. The kind of infrastructure most people never noticed. He's in there, the K-9 handler confirmed. We set up a perimeter and called in a negotiator. For 2 hours we tried to talk him out, promised him safety, promised him help, promised him everything we could think of. He never responded, never made a sound. Finally, we sent in the robot, a small remote-controlled unit with a camera and microphone. It crawled into the culvert, its light illuminating the cramped space. The culvert was empty. Just concrete and standing water, but at the far end, maybe 30 yards in, the robot found something, a backpack, and next to it another note. You're looking in the wrong place. You've always been looking in the wrong place. I'm not hiding in the park anymore. I'm hiding in plain sight. The realization hit me like a physical blow. He's been coming and going, I said, using the park at night, but living somewhere else during the day. Somewhere we haven't looked. Where? Alvarez asked. I pulled up a map of the area surrounding Oak Point. The preserve bordered several neighborhoods, a commercial district, and there, I pointed, the maintenance facility. The Oak Point Maintenance Facility was a city-owned structure on the preserve's eastern boundary, used to store equipment and supplies for park upkeep. It wasn't in the preserve proper, technically wasn't even park property, just a fenced lot with a metal building. We'd never searched it because it wasn't part of the park. 10 minutes later, we were there. The facility's gate was locked, but the chain link fence had been cut in a section, hidden by overgrown vegetation. We moved through the gap quietly, weapons drawn. The maintenance building's side door was unlocked. Inside, we found everything. He had converted a corner of the storage building into a living space, sleeping bag, camping supplies, and most damning, walls covered with photos. Hundreds of surveillance photos of park visitors, organized by date and subject. And in the center of the space, laid out on a work table, were detailed plans for the festival attack. Maps showing crowd flow patterns, entry points, emergency exits, but no suspect. He knew we'd find this eventually, Martinez said, studying the setup. This is theater. He's showing us what he was planning. Or what he wants us to think he was planning, I said. We secured the building and expanded our search to the surrounding area. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. That's when my radio crackled. All units, we have a 911 call from Sarah Mendez. She says someone is in her backyard right now. My heart dropped. While we'd been searching the park and the maintenance facility, he'd gone after his targets. I broke every speed limit getting to Sarah's house. Police units were already there, officers searching the property. Sarah was inside with Martinez, shaking but unharmed. He was just standing there, she said, in my yard, not trying to hide, just standing there looking at me through the glass door. Did he say anything? Martinez asked. Sarah nodded. He said, "The park is closed now, so I came to visit you instead." Officers searched her yard and found footprints in the soft earth beneath her window. He had been standing there for some time, just watching her sleep. But he'd made another mistake. In the flower bed, partially buried, officers found a small notebook. Different from the others. This one contained detailed information about the storm drain system, specific access points, navigation routes, and most importantly, his primary location. Not just the junction point under Oak Point. He had multiple hideouts throughout the tunnel network, but one stood out, marked with a star on his hand-drawn map. A maintenance chamber at the intersection of 3 major drain lines, accessible from both the park and the surrounding neighborhoods. We immediately assembled a team. Myself, Alvarez, Thompson, Martinez, and 4 tactical officers. We equipped ourselves with high-powered flashlights, radios, and rescue gear. No one knew exactly what we'd find down there, but we knew it wouldn't be pleasant. We entered the storm drain system through an access point on the preserve's southern boundary. The metal grate scraped against concrete as we pulled it aside, revealing the dark tunnel below. The tunnel was 5 feet in diameter, forcing us to move in a crouch. Our flashlights cut through the darkness, illuminating concrete walls covered in algae and rust. The air was cool and damp, heavy with humidity, smelling of earth and stagnant water. Every breath felt thick, oppressive. We moved slowly, carefully, following the main drainage line toward the junction point. The sound of our boots on the concrete echoed eerily through the tunnels, making it impossible to move quietly. Water dripped from somewhere in the darkness ahead. The walls seemed to close in around us. "Stay alert," Alvarez said quietly. "He could be anywhere down here." After 20 minutes of claustrophobic navigation through the tunnels, we reached the junction chamber. It was exactly as I'd expected. A concrete room about 10 feet square where 3 drain lines met. And in the center of the space, he had created another camp. This one was the most elaborate yet. He'd brought in a cot, a battery-powered lamp, storage boxes of supplies. The walls were covered with more maps, more photos, more documentation of his surveillance, but no suspect. "He knows we're here," Thompson said quietly. A sound echoed through the tunnels, a voice distorted by the acoustics, impossible to pinpoint. "You're in my home now." We spun, flashlights searching, but the voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "This is where I've always been. Under the park, under your feet, under everything. You thought you were searching the forest, but I was below you. Always below you." "This is the Plano Police Department," Alvarez called out. "We know who you are. There's no way out. Come forward and this ends peacefully." Laughter echoed through the tunnels, distorted and unsettling. "There's always a way out. I know every tunnel, every junction, every exit. This system goes for miles. You'll never find me." He was right. The storm drain network was too vast. We could search for days and never corner him. As long as he stayed in the tunnels, he was effectively untouchable. "So what do we do?" Thompson asked quietly. I made a decision that broke every protocol I'd been taught. "We leave," I said. "Everyone out. Back to the surface." "Miller, what are you—" "Trust me. Everyone out. Now." We retreated from the tunnels and emerged into the daylight. Once we were clear, I pulled out my radio and made a call to the city utilities department. "This is Ranger Miller. I need you to initiate a flush protocol on the storm drain system around Oak Point. Full flow, maximum pressure." "Sir, that's going to flood the entire network." "It's only done during emergencies." "This is an emergency. Do it now." 10 minutes later, the rush of water started. The city opened the control valves at the system's high points, sending thousands of gallons cascading through the tunnels. The storm drains were designed to handle flash floods, and we just created an artificial one. If he stayed in the tunnels, he'd be swept out through one of the exit points. If he tried to escape, we'd be waiting. We positioned teams at every storm drain outlet we could reach, dozens of officers watching for any sign of him. The water rushed through the system for 30 minutes, the sound echoing up through the access points like distant thunder. We waited tense, watching every outlet point. And then, at an outlet that emptied into Rowlett Creek, on the preserve's northern boundary, he emerged. He came out with the floodwater, tumbling, gasping, arms flailing as he tried to maintain his footing in the powerful current. Officers were on him immediately, pulling him from the water, securing his arms behind his back before he could attempt escape. David Brenner was finally in custody. He didn't struggle, didn't resist, just stood there in wet clothes, water dripping from his hair, looking at me with those intense, calculating, unrepentant eyes. "The park will always be mine," he said, as they led him to the patrol car. "No matter where I am, it belongs to me." Martinez and I spent the next week processing everything we'd found. The notebooks, the photos, the detailed surveillance logs. The evidence was overwhelming. David Brenner, 34 years old, last known address in Richardson, no criminal record prior to this. He'd worked as an IT consultant until 8 months ago, then went off-grid, stopped filing taxes, stopped using credit cards, disappeared from the digital world. We found his old apartment cleared out, belongings in storage. At the bottom of a box, we found more notebooks, years of journals documenting what he called observation studies, notes about public spaces, parks, trails, human behavior patterns, and at the very bottom, a manifesto. 20 pages explaining his philosophy that public spaces belong to those who understood them best, that parks weren't for casual visitors, but for those who lived in them, studied them, became part of them. Building up to this for years, Martinez said. Ideological. He believes the park belongs to him. Brenner was charged with multiple counts of stalking, criminal trespass, harassment, and making terroristic threats. His trial was scheduled for the following spring. Emily, Sarah, Jessica, and Katie all testified, describing their terror at being watched and targeted. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. David Brenner was sentenced to 15 years in prison. But sometimes, late at night when I'm doing a patrol through Oak Point, I still feel it. That sense of being watched, that prickle on the back of my neck that says someone is out there, studying me from the shadows. We searched the storm drains thoroughly after Brenner's arrest, found and documented all his camps, all his hiding spots, sealed the access points he'd been using. But sometimes I wonder if we found everything, if he had other places we missed, other hideouts in those miles of tunnels beneath the city. And I wonder if someone else might find them, might read his notebooks and think he was right. Oak Point is safe now. Visitors come without fear. Children play on the trails. Families picnic by the creek. But I still do my patrols, still check where Brenner hid, still watch the tree lines and shadows, because I learned something during those weeks. Public spaces like Oak Point seem safe because they're open, monitored, patrolled. But that safety is illusion. There are always hidden places, always blind spots, always somewhere for someone to watch and wait. And sometimes the people who understand those spaces best aren't the rangers or the police or the regular visitors. Sometimes they're the ones who decide to stay when everyone else goes home. The ones who learn every trail and every shadow. The ones who watch until they know everyone's patterns and routines. The ones who decide a public park is really theirs alone. Last week, during a routine patrol on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, I found something that made my blood run cold. Near the creek overlook, carved into a tree at chest height, were fresh marks. Tally marks. The cuts were recent, the exposed wood still light-colored, sap still sticky to the touch. 6 of them. And beside them, scratched into the bark in neat letters that matched the precise handwriting I'd seen in Brenner's notebooks. I came back. It wasn't Brenner's handwriting, I was certain of that. We would have been notified immediately if he'd escaped from prison. I'd confirmed it with the Department of Corrections that same day. But someone else had been there. Someone who'd found his camps, read his notebooks, absorbed his philosophy. Someone who knew about the tally marks, about the precise way Brenner documented his presence, someone who'd decided to continue what Brenner started. I reported it to Frank immediately. We increased patrols again dramatically, checked all the old hiding spots, the camps we'd found, the storm drain access points, found nothing. No new camps, no fresh supplies, no indication of anyone living in the park. But the marks are still there. Proof that somewhere out there, someone is watching Oak Point the way Brenner did, studying it, learning it, deciding it belongs to them. And maybe they're right. Maybe public spaces don't really belong to everyone. Maybe they belong to whoever's willing to give up their normal life to live in them, to become part of them, to understand them in a way that casual visitors never will. I don't know anymore. What I know is that every time I patrol Oak Point now, I feel eyes on me. Every shadow could hide someone. Every section of vegetation could conceal a camp. And somewhere in those 800 acres, in the tunnels below or the forest within, someone might be living right now, watching, waiting, making the park their own, one observation at a time, until they're ready to let us know they're there. Just like David Brenner did, the park is never really empty. No matter how thoroughly we search, how many cameras we install, how many patrols we run, someone could always be there, just out of sight, patient and convinced the park belongs to them. And honestly, after everything I've seen, I'm not sure they're wrong. Oak Point Park covers nearly 800 acres along Rowlett Creek. During the day, it's peaceful. But after sunset, when the gates close and the parking lot's empty, it becomes something else. And I wonder if I'll ever truly know what, or who's out there watching me wonder.